Welcome to Japan Seikatsu. I'm Ian, and today I would like to speak to you about the teaching English trap. First, how to avoid falling into this trap, but also if you feel that you are in the trap, how to extricate yourself from it. Let's get started. Teaching English overseas can be a great stepping stone, but it can also be a trap, and that's what I would like to speak about today. Now, what I mean by trap is that you no longer are moving closer to career goals that you have. You feel that you're no longer growing, you're no longer learning. So let's talk today about how to avoid this trap, and if you're in the trap, to extricate yourself from the trap. Now, personally, I taught English in Japan for 3 years, and this is something that I saw with colleagues and friends in Japan that were teaching English there. And it would usually happen after they had been there for a longer period of time. This kind of sense of being rudderless, not knowing what to do next, and finding it increasingly difficult to reinvent themselves. And I think while this trap, I call it an English teaching trap, it happens in Japan, it happens in the ESL industry, but it's not unique to teaching English, of course. This could be staying in school too long. Maybe you go to grad school and you find that you're no longer growing, and it sort of becomes a career, a trap, a growth trap. Maybe it's a job where you no longer have passion. You're not in a healthy work environment. This could become a trap. So you will see throughout your career that there's different zones that can become traps. Today I want to speak about the English teaching trap. And I think why it's particularly dangerous, and I've heard the word quicksand, is because in Japan it can be so comfortable. So teaching English, as you know, I was on the JET program, being in an eikaiwa teacher or working as a ALT, you're paid well. If you're in the rural area, the cost of living is quite low, and so you can travel. You can see Japan, you can see Asia, you can go out with friends, and Japan is a lovely place to live. And so there's a lot of fun things to do. Cost of living is reasonable based on the salary that you're making. And so because of this degree of comfort, it's like that frog in boiling water that year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 start to slip by, and you are so comfortable that you don't make a change, and all of a sudden you realize I'm no longer growing. Oh my gosh, am I in the English teaching trap? So first is, how do we avoid the English teaching trap? Well, number one is to be cognizant of the fact that this is something that can happen for the reasons I just spoke to. And so you want to have clear career goals. You want to have a vision that excites you, and think about how your time teaching English in Japan or wherever you are is furthering that goal. So for myself, I taught English in Japan, and I had a dream of working in Tokyo one day, and I would need Japanese language to do that. And so my time teaching English on the JET program in rural Japan improved my Japanese language skills. So I was seeing this period of my life as something that was going to help me accomplish this goal, this dream, this vision that excited me. And I felt like I was learning every day. I mean, literally every day I was learning a new vocabulary word, which is so refreshing when you live in your home country. Sure, you're learning new things, but just as basic as when you're learning a foreign language in a foreign country, like it's in your face that you're learning something new every day. Oh, I now know the word for this. I now know the word for this. I know the kanji for that. And that growth, you feel like you're getting stretched, is a good feeling. I think we all want to feel like we're making forward progress, that we're growing. So part number one is to be clear about those goals. Why are you here? Where are you going? And write it down. So as long as you feel that you're growing and you're moving in that direction, then I think it's safe to say that you've not fallen into the English teaching trap. Now, when you get to the point to where you feel that you're no longer learning, you're no longer growing, you're bummed out, you're starting to feel trapped, right? It's an indicator that you've fallen into the English teaching trap. And I think many of you probably already know, if you're watching this video, that, oh, I've fallen into that trap. And the question is, how do I get out of that trap? Well, I certainly know people that fell into that trap from my experience teaching English in Japan. And I watched people get out of that trap. And it's not easy, because the longer you're doing this, the more inertia builds up, and the more it becomes difficult to kind of make that change and jump out of that trap. But let me speak to individuals that did make that change, that did get out of that trap. And what I found that they did was, as Tony Robbins always says, they took massive action. So they did something that was, on the surface, almost illogical. So, as an example, I had a friend, he was a jet for 5 years, and his dream, what excited him, was software development. He wanted to get into the IT industry, and he was originally from the US. So he had done the 5 years in the jet program, the time was up, needed to make a change, and all along he had been studying this, playing with this. He was building apps that he would then put onto the App Store. And so there was a passion there, and he was building up that skill set on the side, which is something to take note of, because this later helped him. Now, he's from Georgia, on the East Coast of the United States. He flew back to Georgia. Oh, may I add, he saved money while he was on the JET program. So he had capital and some skills, and he also learned Japanese. So he went back to Georgia, and he bought a used car, drove all the way to California with no job, and set up camp. And he found a job with a Japanese IT company in California that needed somebody with IT skills that could help support customers in Japan with Japanese language. It was a marriage made in heaven. Now, he took a big leap of faith, right? I mean, he went back home with no job. He got a used car, drove across the country, rented an apartment, no job, and just tried to make it happen. And he did make it happen. Now, an important ingredient to that success was that he had the money for the used car, he had the money for the gas, he had the skill sets, the Japanese language and that IT skill set. So he made it happen. Another example is, I had this is somebody that did 3 years on the JET program, and then left the JET program, continued teaching English in Japan, and I forget how many years it was. It was maybe 3, 4, or 5 years after that. I mean, I want to say he had been in Japan for, it was maybe 8 or 9 years, and he definitely felt that he had fallen into this English teaching trap. He didn't know what to do next. You know, everybody else is getting older, seemingly progressing in their career. He too had an interest in IT. Now, the route he took is he went back to school. He redid undergraduate. He'd already done undergraduate. He redid undergraduate. He was able to do it in a shorter period of time because he already had the credits. And he got a degree focused on IT, computer science, and then graduated and now is working in that field. So these people took radical action and progressed their goals and their objectives. And this is something that you can do as well. Now, I think what's going on here, and when I speak earlier about the importance of this is almost illogical. Now, I don't want to give illogical advice. I think your friends, those that love you and care about you, your family, will often be giving you plenty of logical advice. I think you'll be getting logical advice. Take baby steps, do this and do that. But we're emotional beings, and you need to get the mindset turned on, get the motivation turbocharged sometimes, and sometimes it takes a radical shift for you to really get that turned on. If I can make, there's an example with when you're trying to clean up your finances, you have debt, let's say, and this comes from Dave Ramsey. Always gives this advice, and he's kind of a financial guru that always talks about eliminating debt and then building up your savings. Now, his approach is, if you have some assets and you have some debt and you're saving for retirement, let's say, immediately sell those assets that you can, stop immediately all savings for retirement or any type of investing, and use all that money you can just to pay down the debt as quickly as possible, and you focus everything on paying down that debt. Now, somebody could look at that logically and say, well, doesn't it make more sense to keep saving for retirement? Average return you're making is, let's say, historically 6-7% on equities. If the interest rate on that debt is 2%, it makes sense. Why don't I just keep slow paying this, keep investing? Now, that is logically very true. But the reason Dave Ramsey is giving this advice of just sell everything, immediately cut off any diversion of money to future investments, retirement, is because you need to change the mindset. It becomes like a war mindset that you need to focus all of your energy on paying down this debt. And that gets you passionate about it. It radicalizes your mindset just to become fanatical about paying down the debt. And that turning on the emotions is so much more powerful than just thinking about it purely logically. And so sometimes when you feel that you're in this English trap, you need to do the same thing. But as I said in the beginning, a lot of the reasons that these people that took these illogical steps made big jumps, they were able to do it successfully, is because they had some savings. They had been developing skill sets along the side as well. So that's something that's always important. First is, as you feel yourself starting to get into the English teaching trap, start working on a side hustle. Start identifying what excites you. What are you spending your time on? What do you want to learn more about? Start doing that. Start learning more about that. And if you feel that you're getting more and more into this trap, and it's maybe time to hit the emergency button and do something radical, like making a change of the scenery, moving back to the home country. Some of the examples that I gave earlier. Now, when thinking about the individuals that I knew that had gotten into this English teaching trap and now have reinvented themselves and are on a new career path, looking back, was it an English teaching trap? I don't think we can call it a trap, right? Because they identified that they were in the hot water before it became boiling and were able to make that jump out of the water. So being aware that we're no longer growing, that we're in increasingly hot water, and we need to take action is critical. You're no longer then in the trap. You've escaped. This was kind of just a catalyst to help progress you to the next phase of your career. If you never make a change, if you stay in that pot of boiling water, then it becomes the trap. And again, this is not just English teaching. This can be many different. This could be a career, it could be a job, it could be grad school, etc. So always keep focused on where are you going, what's your vision that excites you for the future, and make sure that what you're doing now is meaningful in terms of progressing that goal. That will keep you out of the trap. And if you're in the trap, it'll get you out of the trap. So best of luck to you. I hope you enjoy this content. As always, we are trying to build the Japan Seikatsu community. So please be sure to hit that like button and to be sure to subscribe and share this content. We are building a community now, almost 300 people. I thank all of you very much that are connected to Japan, passionate about Japan. So again, thank you, and I'll be doing more content like this in the future. Take care.